Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity?
No, I'm going to keep it a secret. I am Kristi Reed. I am a voice director for anime and video games. I'll let you take it from there.
Well, I have to say, I really love talking to the people on the other side of the glass and not just the people locked inside in their straitjackets.
Yeah, it's a completely different aspect, different angle that we come from.
Definitely. But I have to wonder, I would think you don't just hop into anime, directing and like, oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. Totally. This is it. So,
How did
so
that happen?
yeah, how did that all happen?
So I came, I'm a filmmaker is my background, and I came out of film school and was working as a commercial director, and I was doing commercials in Canada and in the States. And I knew Eric Sherman from Bang Zoom, and he and I were friends, and he said to me, I think that you have a really good eye for directing. I think you'd be really good at this. And I said, I'm kind of doing the commercial thing right now. Maybe, I don't know. And then the commercial thing, I quickly realized was not where I really belonged. After trying to sell myself over a box of cereal, I realized, that's not where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And I came back to Eric and I said, hey, you had talked about doing some anime. Let me check it out. And that was a show called Idol Project. And I did the first couple episodes of that. And from there, I went into doing another series. And the first series was called Gun Frontier. It was a Captain Harlock thing. And that was almost 10 years ago.
And now a lot has changed actually from a technology standpoint, from then to now. Is there anything that you wish you would have had that you didn't have back in the day?
I came in when they were already doing digital, so I wasn't from that school where they were doing it already on tape. But what we do now, which I think is so much better, is we record digital scripts. When I first started, we recorded on paper scripts that were printed out. And particularly when you're doing anime to sync, you change a lot of dialogue in the studio, either to fit sync or to fit the character. And when you're on paper, you say things like, okay, I'm going to rewrite this line, and the change is going to be, he's going to do this, and he said that, he's going to do that, blah, blah. And the actor's like, okay, say that one more time, and I got to write it all down very carefully so I get it just right on my piece of paper. And that would take 15 minutes sometimes to do a rewrite. Now, I have a digital script, and the actor literally sees what's on my laptop, and that'll funnel into the studio, which is either in the actor's booth, say it's an iPad that he's looking at, or just a monitor that is feeding off my laptop. I type it into my script on my laptop. Immediately the actor sees it. We go from there. I rewrite so much more in the studio now than I have ever done in the past.
I didn't think about it like that. I always just assumed that people were using their iPads and whatnot in their home studio because paper was noisy.
And you didn't have those 5-6 years ago.
And that's kind of an interesting way to think on it. But I have to wonder, anime is just a weird medium. Let's just call it weird.
It is.
Did you get kind of overwhelmed seeing, how different it's approached in comparison to other media?
Sure. And and I knew anime before I started doing it. I had some basic introduction to it, but not on the whole scope that I obviously do now. And there are times when you realize there is just not anything that an anime won't approach story-wise. They will pick everything you could possibly imagine. It is not one genre. It is a category for a zillion subgenres. And so at times I was like, man, like the first time I found that there was something called hentai. I was like, what is that about? But fortunately, that's about as the darkest I've ever seen. I don't go there. So anyways, yes, there are all kinds of things that anime will do.
Well, I can't imagine being anywhere in the booth with hentai would be comfortable at all, but that's just me.
Right.
That might be a little awkward.
That might be, yes. I'm fortunate that I've never actually had to do any of that.
Well, now I have to wonder, is there any shows that stand out to you where you were maybe doing research for it and then there was this huge plot twist and you were like, oh God, I have to rethink this entire thing?
I try very hard to know that before I start writing it. So I do my best to know what happens from the beginning of episode 1 to the very last episode as much as I possibly can, so that when I'm writing episode 4 and I make some sort of character arc in there, it doesn't bite me in the butt later in episode 18 when it makes no sense for what I did in episode 4. So I will go on the internet and I will research everything I possibly can. If there's a manga that pre-exists, I'll use that as a template. or if the anime's been out for a while, I'll try and use that. But I will essentially get as much information as possible before I actually write one word on the page.
Well, now, besides the internet, do you ever use different research material? Like some things have video games based off of them, some things have manga based off of them, so on and so forth?
Yeah, well, right now I've been working on Persona 4 this year, and so that's an anime series based on a video game. And so what I did was I went through and found as many cut scenes or cinematic scenes on YouTube as I possibly can that had the dialogue on it. And that's what I used to try and match my dialogue so that I could carry it across from the game into the anime as seamlessly as possible. So yeah, I'll use whatever mediums I can to try and make sure that I am incorporating the established feel of the character in my version as well.
I was about to say playing like the hundreds of hours involved with Persona 4 would probably take a lot out of you.
Right? Yeah, I couldn't play the whole game. So the cutscenes on YouTube are really, really helpful. And also I could hear the way the characters interacted and established voices with each other before I even started writing it, which sometimes I don't get the casting done until it's written. And it's really helpful for me to know how an actor is going to talk before, because an actor, I can write dialogue one way, but an actor's going to bring a completely different element to it. So it's very nice to have that sort of feeling before you actually write the dialogue to know exactly what the actor's bringing. That helps.
And some of them have such crazy voices or crazy ways that they speak. Teddy's a great example with all of his wonderful bear jokes.
Right? So here's the thing is that, Sam Riegel, who plays Teddy, is someone who's has done stand-up. He is a very, very funny guy. And he was not so into doing the puns at the beginning of the beginning of season 1. He was like, oh, all these bear puns and all that stuff. And by the end of season 2, and we just finished it, he was, there was a line, he goes, there's not a bear pun, and there needs to be a bear pun. I'm like, oh, how far you've come, Sam.
Well, it's funny. My staff will start making bear puns, and I don't necessarily get it because I'm still like, finished Persona 3 and I'm just starting Persona 4. I had my copy sealed, just saying. So, they get into like these hours of like bear puns, and I'm just like, okay, can we stop now? Can you like make rape jokes or something? Anything will be better than this.
It's unbearable.
No, my one weakness.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. When Sam was like throwing in his own puns, I was like, wow, you really embraced this character fully. Well done.
Well, now, I have to wonder, when you look at a project like that that's based off a video game, do you think about how fans of the video game will react? Obviously, anime fans are going to watch it and enjoy it, but video game fans don't necessarily watch anime.
No, they don't necessarily translate either. Yeah, I do think about that. And that's why it's important for me to try and some of the aspects that might have been very popular in the game to try and pick those up and bring them to the anime to make sure that I'm faithful to the original format that the story originated from. So what's interesting with Persona 4 is hopefully I've done that well, but I've got kind of an interesting mix of people who are watching the show. You've got your gamers who are watching it, but you also have a lot of people who don't know the game who are anime fans who are watching it. So it's kind of cool in Persona 4 to see that there's these two worlds kind of swirling around together.
Definitely, and it'll be interesting to see how all the fans react. I haven't seen too many fan reactions at this point. I know everybody's getting off the high of Persona 4 Arena.
Right. Right.
It's just like...
Yeah, well, today is actually the last day of recording for Persona 4 for me.
Oh, congratulations. That must be a good feeling.
It is. I think we'll go out and have a drink tonight with my last session. So it's good. Yeah.
With strippers and bear puns all the way.
Exactly. Strippers and bear puns all night long. That's how you wrap a show up.
This is a family-friendly show, kids. But for anyone who, hasn't played the game and maybe they've never, seen Persona of their own, how would you describe the show to them?
Well, okay, first of all, it's a weird show, so I'll put that out there. But basically, Persona is based around an ensemble cast of high school students who have to embrace an aspect of their persona that is maybe something they're not proud of or they're embarrassed by, but yet is still very much a part of them. And once they embrace this aspect of themselves, this persona, it gives them a power, and it gives them a power to help other people do the same thing and defeat some of these darker forces within the world. But it's that's the kind of esoteric part of it wrapped around a detective mystery. So the detective mystery is who is doing things that put people in danger, and one of the things that they do is they shove people into this TV world, which is based around something called the Midnight Channel, and that's another mystery in and of itself that ends up having to be solved. So it's not a straightforward show, but the cast is a great ensemble cast, and they each have their own voice and add something completely different to the mix. And I really like ensemble casts, and I think it does a great job of being fun and friendly and funny and beautiful artwork, and just a really interesting group of people working through the two different worlds.
Well, we're actually going to hear this interesting group of people mess up on a lot of takes, thanks to you. I'm so glad that you could clear this for us. But we're going to be listening to some Persona 4 bloopers. So,
Cool.
yes, we're going to go to a short break, and hopefully you'll enjoy those, bear puns and all.
Nice.
Howdy, everybody out there. You're still tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and my special guest is still alive, I hope. Are you breathing?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not kicked the bucket yet.
Thankfully. It is close to Halloween. You never know.
Right. That's right.
You might have gotten poisoned candy. Who knows? You know.
Need some spare body parts.
It's interesting to see how anime fans are actually celebrating Halloween. I know this is a little bit off topic, but it seems like, for them, it's just another convention.
There is some truth in that.
And I've just been seeing it everywhere. But for the listeners out there, before you start giving me your Halloween and costume ideas that you're going to, or your plans, we actually want to talk about a show, a different show that you're working on that's not Persona. Even though I know you guys love Persona and you're begging me to ask more questions about Persona, let's talk about this one really quick. Would you like to introduce the show yourself?
Sure. So the show that I will start working on, and I've already done one season of it, and it will be the thing that I start on season 2 shortly after I wrap up Persona, is a show for Viz called Lagrange, and it is on their new Viz channel right now. And it's fun. It's basically chicks and robots. It's very different from Persona, but yet it's still got a fun sense of dialogue and a good play in between the 3 characters that are the mains that make it, I think, a fun show to watch. And that, I believe, is started airing on their channel, and then they're going to have Blu-ray and DVD will be coming out, but they don't have a street date for that yet. But it's good. It's got some of the same cast that is in Persona. Johnny Bosch is in it. Sam Riegel is in it, and it's got some newcomers. It's got Kira Buckland, if you guys know who she is, and some old favorites, Michelle Ruff, and Kira plays the lead, which is really great. Kira is one of those people that actually came to a convention and tried to impress us with her acting skills, and did just that at Anime Expo in Los Angeles, and that was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe not even that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and here she is now after really being very dedicated about practicing and doing her best to get her career started, the lead of a show for Viz. I think that's a very inspirational story for anybody who wants to be a voice actor.
Aw, congrats, Kira. That's really cool to hear. Because we actually interviewed her about her role in Skullgirls.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, so that's just really cool to hear, to see how someone's career progresses.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable. You can go from that obscure person in the audience at a con to a lead in a show. It's possible.
Now, what you're referring to Viz's channel, do you mean Neon Alley, or do you mean...
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. Now, for all the listeners who don't know about that, you can get that exclusively on your PlayStation 3. There's a 1-week free trial in case you want to check that out. Actually really cool, and Tiger and Bunny is amazing, so go watch that. I'm really addicted to that right now.
It's a good show.
Yes, and you also want to check out a show with chicks and giant robots. I mean,
That's
come on.
right. Lagrange. Check it out.
Yes. And now, is there anything else that you can share about the project, or are you not allowed to say much more about it?
Not at this point, but we'll get into season 2. It definitely is something. Oh, also on the show is a fan favorite is Vic Mignogna. He plays a really interesting character, and I think that there will be some interesting twists and turns with some of these characters as we get into season 2. But you'll have to stay tuned for that. But that is where all of the stories really start to become a little bit more interesting, as far as places you didn't see the story arc going, is what essentially it's going to happen. So check it out. I think it's worth putting some time into. It's a good show.
So now, a lot of these shows that you get with the girls and the big monsters, they have a lot of fan service, but does this get into some serious plot?
This will eventually get, yes, exactly. This will definitely get into some more plot come season 2. Season 1 was really just kind of a setup for all the plot that develops in season 2.
Ah, okay. So they actually had it planned. I love when they do that.
Exactly. And the interesting thing about the all of the mechs in Lagrange is that it was all designed by the head of Nissan in Japan. He apparently is a big anime manga fan, and he wanted to do this. So you'll see a couple of times in the crowd shots, there'll be guys with like Nissan logos in the background, and that's what that's about.
So obviously the first working robot is going to be my Nissan, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's clearly what that means.
No, I'm just waiting for it for Japan. I mean, it's going to be stomping its way through New York City one day.
Exactly. After it comes across, all of the oceans it needs to travel to get there.
Hurricane Sandy, scoot over.
Right.
Now, for the fans out there, is there any place where they can keep up to date on what you're working on? Do you have any social media?
Sure. You can check me out on Twitter. It's Instant Kristi, Kristi, and I try to update pretty regularly about any session that I'm having with somebody interesting or something that happens cool in the session, and any sort of new show that I'm working on. That will get announced on there, and as well as any conventions or any little tidbits about whatever. Yes, that's a good place to check me out. Instant Kristi is also Instagram. I'll sometimes load some pictures from the booth in there. It's instant-Kristi. But yeah, and you can also find me on Facebook, and I am happy to accept any kind of friend request. It's cool.
Well, I have to give you a gold star because a lot of the people that I interview don't know how to work Twitter. So
yeah, unfortunately, I wish I had one of those unusual names that, like Yuri Lowenthal. It's just, I'm Twitter, Yuri Lowenthal, but unfortunately my name is not so unusual that I can just own it. You'll get some other random person if you just do Kristi Reed.
Well, sadly, though, with Yuri's name is you can make jokes about two ladies getting it on. So,
That's true.
Might not be the best example.
Right. It goes both ways, Mr. Lowenthal.
Yes. Well, now, for the listeners out there who are really brave and they want to stalk you in real life and just not on the internet, are there any conventions that you have coming up?
I just came back from Australia and New Zealand. So right now, no. I'm trying to get myself recovered from that. I'm usually at Anime Expo every year in Los Angeles. That's always a fair bet. You'll find me there. But if there are any conventions coming up, I will announce it on Twitter. So it's a good motivation to go check out Instant Kristi. And I'll keep you posted.
I am so jealous. You got to travel all that way. That must have been amazing.
And what's cool for people who are interested in being a voice actor, one of the things that I try to do at conventions is do a panel that lets anybody come up and essentially audition for me. And I have a mic, and I literally do it with beeps to a scene. Like I just did it in New Zealand and for the Armageddon Expo there, and in Melbourne, where it was a scene from Do Ra 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 and a scene from Vampire Night. And you get to actually act in there off of this particular situation. It was either off Vic Mignogna or off Crispin Freeman. And you can act off a really great actor and show me your stuff. And I encourage that. We're always looking for new talent.
And that's really cool because, a lot of times we actually have a panel on how to talk to voice actors. And we've heard so many stories where it's like, don't give the voice actors your demos. They don't cast you. So that's actually one of the points we go over. So this is the lady you want to look for. Look for the big bullseye.
That's right. And also, when you're done with it, you'll have officially worked with a professional voice director so that you'll know we're not that scary and we're not necessarily there to make you feel intimidated and awkward. We actually want you to be good, because if you're good, then our job is going to be easier. So bring it. I'd love to see new talent.
And now it's kind of interesting. I have to ask this because when I was growing up, and one of the things that I experienced, and I don't really so much now, is that a lot of people would, it seemed like, be cast over and over again. Not just because they were good, but they got like typecast, and it feels like the industry's broken away from that a bit. Did you ever see that, or were you ever bothered by that?
Yeah, both. Yes, seeing, bothered, all of that, and it's for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that the voice acting industry, for good and bad, is a very tight-knit community, and so it can be, people say it's very hard to break into voice acting because it's so tight-knit. Yes, that is very true, and that is one of the reasons why you see a lot of the same actors kind of recycled. But it's good in the sense that if someone new comes in, or if you're in the community say, you know what, you should really, if you don't know this guy, check out this actor. I think he'd be really good for this role. And so the people who, it might even be somebody who is auditioning for the exact same role, everybody looks out for each other in the voice acting industry and makes sure that everybody's taken care of. And so once you get into it, and it's just starting to expand, I think, for multiple reasons, you are very well taken care of. Now, that's said about things changing in the past. I think it's gotten better now because it's easier to have access to people who are voice actors. You know, in the past, you couldn't necessarily find somebody on Facebook and say, listen, I'm a new voice actor. I want to try and break in the industry. Give me some tips. That was much harder to do. And you'll find that now that we have these sort of social media outreach venues, that you're finding that people are willing to bring you in. I think that that's why you're seeing a lot more diversity within the casting, is there's just now ways to bring people into the fold a little easier.
Definitely. It's kind of interesting to see how the industry changes. I mean, in anime, we've seen a lot of newer people break through, which is really cool. For the fans, I think to get to, watch fellow fans get involved. But I think where it's kind of changed a little bit more radically is video games. Like you're seeing now celebrities voicing things who might not have any experience in voiceover.
Yeah, it's true, and that's a good and a bad thing. I mean, the good thing is that for some projects you can definitely get them done because you have so and so attached, and it'll get a much higher profile, and that helps. And then the double-edged sword is that you're not, it's not somebody who that's their wheelhouse is voice acting, so it's a very foreign aspect for them. So yeah, the video games, in even more recently, I think that on-camera actors are realizing, that it's a good gig. Voice acting is fun, and you get to show up in your pajamas.
I'm in my pajamas right now.
And the nice thing is, from where I am in the booth, for the most part, the glass that I look at the actors through kind of hits them somewhere around mid-waist. You could show up without pants, and I wouldn't even know.
That kind of worries me. I hope nobody's like completely forgotten their pants. You just stand up in your seat and you're like, hey, you forgot.
Oh yeah, awkward.
Yeah. Anyway, before we make this more awkward, I was wondering if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Sure.
Awesome. We ask everyone whether they're a voice actor or not, if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Sure.
Sweet. The trick of it, however, is that we do the takes live on air.
Bring it.
Okay. We ask if you'd be willing to say, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can say what projects you're involved in or that you're a director, whatever you want to put there.
Okay.
And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
You ready?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Wait, you gotta tell me again. Hi. Oh, I already forgot.
That's okay. It's hello, my name is, you insert your name. Yeah. I do this. You can insert projects so that you're a director.
Okay.
And you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Got it.
So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kristi Rin. I am a voice actor for anime, animation, and video games. You probably have hopefully seen some of the things I've done. If you have, it'd be things like Persona 4, Do Rah Rah Rah, and Blaze Blue is a video game that I've done. You are tuned in to 91.8 The Fan.
See, that wasn't so bad.
That wasn't so bad. You can probably edit that up and make it better.
That didn't hurt at all. You were fabulous. And you got the name right. Everybody switches the name. So
98.1?
Yes. So you beat out, I think, about 250 other people. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Any dating advice or words of wisdom?
For anybody who's interested in being a voice actor, I think I've already said it, but I'll just reiterate. We'd love to see you. We'd love to see new talent, and contact me. I'm always happy to try and do what I can to get people into the fold. It's not a wall that you should be afraid of crossing. It's something that is actually where we want you to come and try and be good. Because if you're good, then my job is happy.
And I think that's very good advice for the wannabe voice actors out there. You want to be a voice actor, and hopefully you can take the wannabe out of your name.
Exactly.
Yes. And thank you so much for this. This was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.